Okay, hello, colleagues and friends. It's March 17th, and I want to um, share some information you regarding synchronous and asynchronous teaching. So here we are. Want to also invite everyone to just take a breath. We have a little extra time now with classes starting a week later than expected, so we can make use of that time. So the purpose of this session is to explore some sort of overarching issues related to synchronous and asynchronous teaching as we all prepare to teach online this spring quarter. So I'm just to define briefly, synchronous would be, in this case, since we're all going online, face to face over Zoom or some other video conference. Asynchronous are activities students are doing alone or possibly doing with another student or a small group of students that are happening outside of this face-to-face time. And then those activities are integrated into what you do in face-to-face time. When you think about it, this is not unlike the conversations and sessions we've had about maximizing face-to-face time in the classroom versus what students are doing outside of the class before they come to you. So this ties into some of the pedagogical issues we've already been working on. Okay, what am I doing right now? I'm preparing a session that you will watch asynchronously, right? You watch this on your own whenever you want to. The advantages are the timing is flexible. We didn't have to try to find a time when everyone was available. You can stop and start this presentation if you need to. You can take notes. You can watch it again if you would like to watch it again, maybe later on before you start teaching. You can watch it again if your Wi-Fi gets interrupted or your broadband. So, something that might be happening to our own students. They might have interruptions. You can still ask me questions. You can email me questions. I'll answer them. I'll get back to you about your questions. And Nick Swinehart and Alba Girons will be watching my presentation and basing the more detailed information they're going to share with you. Nick will be focusing more on platforms or applications or resources available on campus, and Alba will be focusing on the in-class and out-of-class and asynchronous activities she already does, teaching students that are attending her class for course share. So in a way, this session will also be integrated into further sessions. I'm also trying really hard to look at the camera, not look at the screen. That's a new experience for me, so I hope that's effective. All right, there's been a lot of focus on Zoom right now over the last couple days. Nick and Alba have given a session about Zoom, or other video conferencing applications. But we need and want to say very clearly right now that if you expect to be able to sit or stand in front of a computer and teach 50 minutes or 80 minutes over Zoom, just teach the way you've been teaching, that is not going to be an option. It just isn't going to be an option. Nor are we talking about moving 100% to asynchronous activities where students are doing everything on their own without you, asynchronously whenever they want to or by deadlines that you assign, and they're not interacting you. We're talking about you being able to find a balance between those two, all right? Making decisions about what the students can do without you on their own or with each other, and what you want them to be able to do with you face-to-face over video conference. So just like in a lot of other CLC workshops and pedagogical initiatives, we want to give you information and resources that help you make your own decisions about your own curricula, to make informed pedagogical decisions. We're also hearing pretty, I would say very forcefully from the college and from the division that we must provide asynchronous resources for our students. We can't rely on face-to-face video conferencing. All of our students, there are going to be limitations for all of our learners. They may be in places where they don't have good Wi-Fi or good bandwidth or stable Wi-Fi. There are also time zone issues to take into consideration. There are also learner styles and learner types. And, I just like to emphasize here, and this was emphasized to us in other meetings that we have to think about, we need to think about the well-being of our students in these moments. We are stressed, but they're stressed, they're disappointed, they're frustrated, they might be angry, so they're feeling all kinds of other feelings as students. And so we don't want snafus with our instruction to add to those issues. So there's a real, there's a concern that if you're just planning to stand in front of a computer and deliver instruction for 50 minutes or 80 minutes, you're going to hit a wall. Either a technical problem on the student's end or on your end, a browser issue, it could be so many different things. And this is just going to add to the issues that your students are facing and to our own stress as we try to teach. So if you are able to make decisions about moving some activities to asynchronous platforms or asynchronous activities, you're going to take pressure off the entire endeavor of this online teaching. You can also, to add a detail, that these activities and this learning that normally would have been happening in class, that you're now moving to an asynchronous teaching moment, counts as contact hours. So you shouldn't feel a need to fill up 3 hours or 5 hours or whatever it is of contact with your students. Students are having meaningful contact with the material that you design and set up. This is a kind of contact hour. So you can kind of release yourself from that tallying of contact hours. All right. So let's move on a little bit more specifically. We want from the CLC, we want you to think about this move online as an opportunity, in a way, to revisit a lot of the things you do when you're teaching, to be a little bit critical about them, to re-examine them. And I'd first advise you to look at a lesson plan that you have in place, that you've taught before or are looking ahead to teaching, and really go activity by activity and decide which ones really must only take place online, right? Or with my students face to face, with me interacting with the students. Really try to think creatively, imaginatively a little bit. What could they be doing on their own without me? How could that be done in a meaningful way so that I can just focus when I'm going to have this synchronous instruction on the things that are really most pressing and need to be done in that way. Now I'm going to give a few examples. And like I said, Nick and Alba are going to be following up with some more specific software, hardware techniques and activities, sort of based on these general principles I'm talking about here. So, think about a class that maybe is comprised of brief discussions or reviews of grammar or vocabulary points that students may have been introduced to or learned on their own, followed by some kind of face-to-face practice where students are interacting with you or interacting with each other, all right? You don't need to make a movie in front of a green screen to produce those teaching moments, that brief review or teaching you would have done in class. You can walk students orally with a spoken audio recording through those materials. All right, everyone, take a look at page 189. I'm looking at exercise 7. Let's briefly review that material, make a few points. So every single thing that you might have done as teaching in your class doesn't have to be translated into a movie, all right? Also, you can also have instead of having students do the oral practice they might have done with you, you can have them write out those exercises, provide them with a key, let them correct them. You can provide them with a spoken key, where they have to listen and correct. Have them scan or photograph and send you those corrected activities. You can also have them create those grammar or vocabulary exercises orally and create an oral file that they upload then and send to you, or record on their phones and send to you. So that's a way to move a whole bunch of things that might be that up to this point were happening quickly as a review, and then students face-to-face with you or face-to-face with each other, to another way of doing them. They can do it on their own. They can rehearse and practice. That will still get that practice that you want. Think about pair work. A lot of us do pair work that are either speaking practice or communicative practice. Think about pair work which really isn't communicative, which is just students speaking different things, speaking to each other in the target language to do another activity. All right, look at those really carefully. If that's still the purpose, the students can still prepare those materials themselves or with a partner offsite asynchronously and create an audio file between two people or by themselves that they send to you. And remember, for some of these activities, especially the one I'm just mentioning, if you would like students to practice, let's say they answer a few questions. Tell me about your daily routine. Tell me what you do every weekend. Tell me what you never do on the weekend. All right, normally this might have been an interaction between two students or an interaction between you and some students. But if a student rehearses that and practices enough to create a sound file recording quickly on their phone that they can easily send to you, the learning and the practice has already happened in them making that file. You may not even need to listen to every single file the students send in. You just want them to practice, just like the practice they do in class that you listen to and get a read on what's going on. You're not going to be able to correct every single utterance in those classroom activities either. So think about, this could be very rich practice that students are getting with each other. Same thing with role plays. You can pair students up for the rest of the quarter or pair them up for 3 weeks and then change the pairs after 3 weeks, change the pairs for the last 3 weeks, and have them do all the paired activities with each other, rehearsing, creating a sound file until they get it to the quality they want, and then send that to you. All that practice is fantastic, meaningful practice happening asynchronously. All right, those are just a couple of examples of thinking about actually, it's not even the breadth of all the different activities we do in class with our students, but thinking about ways that it really makes it possible to structure those for students and having them happen asynchronously. These descriptions I've just given you and many others still promote active, even interactive language production, language practice, all right? Be done in a whole bunch of ways. I'm also going to take a lesson that I shared with those of you who came to a session I did on maximizing face-to-face time, where we used an imagined set of videos about eating habits, and I shared with you a bunch of pre-class activities, in-class activities, discussion activities, and follow-up out-of-class activities. I'm going to take that entire lesson and annotate it and show you how I would take some of those in-class activities and now make them asynchronous activities. So this might be a useful lesson for those of you thinking about what to do when students have read or viewed or listened to something ahead of time, and now you want to plan activities for them, things they can do, as I said, asynchronously, and also things they can do with you or with the rest of the class synchronously. So in the meantime, please let us know in the Language Center what your needs are, what your concerns are. Ahmet will be doing a session later this week about testing online. A couple of you have heard that he was able to put the academic reading comprehension tests up online. He administered those yesterday to graduate students on Qualtrics and made it possible for those tests to go forward. So we're working hard and to support you through these next weeks. So in the meantime, take care, stay safe. We are going to rely on you, your expertise and your talent, and I wish you all the best. Thanks.